Is Penn State going to do it again? The past two NCAA tournaments, Penn State has broken and re-broken the all-time NCAA team scoring record. And now, for the third straight year, it's I would say more than a distinct possibility. It may even be a likelihood. I'm going to break down Penn State's team performance this year compared to last year and give my assessment on whether or not I think Penn State is going to ultimately re-break the NCAA team scoring record, which they set last year, 177 points. One thing to note right now is the projected team scores on FloWrestling's rankings are basically, those are your placement points that you would get minus bonus points. So right now, Penn State is projected at 160 points. Okay, that's pretty insane when you consider that last year, going into the NCAA tournament, they were projected at 157. Now, a year ago, Penn State scored 35 and a half bonus points at the national tournament. That's a crazy, crazy number of bonus points. So you take 160 and you add 35 and a half, you're like, wow, this is a team that could be knocking on the door 200 points. While possible, I want to caution you a little bit. This is a team who, this different era of Penn State wrestling is so dominant that when you take the seed to performance numbers, it's almost impossible to match what you were doing. You think about years past where you had guys like Vincenzo Joseph and guys that were lower seeded and they go on, they place high or they win the tournament, etc. Those days are kind of gone because Penn State's wrestlers, so many of them are ranked first or second. Right now, they have 6 number ones. They have 7 guys that are essentially undefeated, right? I mean, I say essentially because Luke Lillidahl lost to his teammate, Nathan Desmond. And other than that, he hasn't lost. Marcus Blaze has not lost. Shane Van Ness, undefeated. Mitchell, Levi Haynes, Rocco Welsh, Josh Barr. They have 7 undefeated guys, okay? So 7 guys that could potentially win a national title, not to mention they're really good at some other weight classes as well. I mean, PJ Duke, no one's counting him out of winning a national title. Cole Mirasola is clearly improving at heavyweight class. And then Braden Davis, while struggling a little bit, it's kind of relative because his last 2 matches have been against Jesse Mendez and Brock Hardy. So those aren't the best litmus tests for where Braden could truly be. So I think there's probably better days to come for Braden Davis. But what we're looking at here is really what I think is Cael Sanderson's best team. And with that, I do think they are going to be on the cusp of re-breaking that record, right? And I don't know if I touched on it at all or at length, but they're going to come into the Big Tens with a lot of projected team wins. Now, they still do have the Princeton duel, but I wouldn't expect a lot of shakeups there after that dual meet. And they're going to come in with a lot of really high rankings. And the question is there opportunity for Penn State to go up in the rankings even further in their team tournaments? And you're not even talking about who's second, third, or fourth. That's basically immaterial at this point. Penn State is competing against Penn State teams of the past. It would seem like PJ Duke at the 4th ranking is someone that could and likely will improve that standing. And I think everyone thinks PJ can win a national title this year. His only losses to now number 1 Antrell Taylor. If you watch that match, PJ nearly won it a couple different times. There was a takedown that could have been that wasn't called. Feels like PJ can absolutely win a national title. I'm not breaking any news there. Cole Mirasola ranked 5th. Now, Big Ten is really deep at the heavyweight class. I don't know how much more Cole's going to be able to climb going into NCAAs. And then Braden Davis, I think he's going to right the ship come Big Ten championships. I think he's going to have a fine showing. No, he's not going to contend for a Big Ten title or a national title, but he's still a guy that can score meaningful points at the national tournament. So the question is, what does Penn State need to do to re-break the record? Going back to last year, I mentioned they were projected at 157 points, and they scored 177.5. So you think, okay, wow, they outperformed their expectations, but not relative to placement. They had quite a few guys. You had Luke Lillidahl and Tyler Kasak, top seeds, got 3rd. You had a 3 seed get 2nd. A lot of little things, but 5 or 6 of the guys placed lower than their seed. They make it up in those bonus points. Now, I think we're going to have a team that's going to be projected to get a little bit more. I think they still, it's I don't want to say impossible. It's really, really hard to match your there's nowhere to go but down. Put it that way. If you're the number one ranked guy, the number one seed, you can't really outperform it. You can only match it. And so with that, they could come down a little bit. But the amount of bonus they scored, that 35 points, is not an anomaly. They scored similarly the year before. So you can expect, I mean, you could conservatively say 30 bonus points. And I feel like on the placement side, they're looking at 155. So I think this is a team that's going to break into the 180s this year, which has never happened, obviously. You know, we've been in the 70s for a little while. But it feels like this is a team that can not only re-break the record, but maybe is going to set a bar that even a Penn State team for the future is going to have a hard time living up to. And it's a unbelievable time in college wrestling where you have, in really college sports, where you have a team that has this level of dominance that no other college team is experiencing in any sport, and really find a more dominant run for any team in NCAA athletics. It's going to be tough to find. That's where Penn State's at right now, and it's so, they're so far out in front that it's, you hear the conversations after some of their dual meets, and these other teams and their fans are just, you know, I'm getting tweets, oh, Tom Ryan, wait, Tom Ryan? So what, is a national champion coach? He's done, I mean, this is all year long. Ohio State has been the team story, really even more than Penn State. They're kind of doing what we thought they might do. Ohio State, where they started the year to where they are now, they've massively outperformed. And then they get, you know, woodshed by Penn State. And now, but that's a common thing now we're seeing, right? The comparison to this level of greatness is creating outsized expectations. And that's really one of the great, you know, signals of the dominance Penn State is showing. So they've got Princeton and then the Big Ten championships at the Bryce Jordan Center. That's going to be a freaking rock show. It's going to be fun to have it at the BJC. I think anytime you have a rabid fan base, whether it's in Iowa or Penn State, Ohio State, Nebraska, it brings a really supercharged element. I think that's what we're going to have at the BJC. But my question for you, do you think Penn State has what it takes to re-break the record for the third year in a row? I think they're going to do it. I feel pretty strongly about it, actually. But they still got it to do. What do you think?